When it was announced that Saudi Arabia would be hosting the first ever Esports World Cup, Apex Legends was not only included, but the tournament would also hold the largest prize pool in the game's competitive history. But with the bigger prize pool came even tougher competition. And what many didn't yet realize is that the Esports World Cup would be the most brutal tournament in the history of Apex Legends competitive.
14 Alliance though! This is their chance. This is their opportunity as they sweep in, they wrap in behind. The spray coming in from Effect is devastating as he takes down 2 members.
That's 2 members of Blacklist as Alliance look to close this thing out against them and get these 3 kills and ensure we have a winner here in match 13. All the meanwhile...
And today is a solo wrap winning, and that would keep this tournament going. But for Alliance, it's about cleaning up here. Like I said, it's the golden opportunity. It's the dream opportunity as Blacklist International will fall, and this will be your final game. We will crown a champion.
Alliance, who are touted as group stage players, the boys that could never get it done, the boys who always struggled in finals, have this game in their hands, and it's now their chance.
LG are down as Alliance will do it!
So I'm Burke, talking all things competitive Apex. Subscribe if you like that sort of thing, and let's break down the hardest tournament in Apex Legends history. On April 11th, 2024, it was announced that Apex Legends would be making an appearance in the Esports World Cup, giving competing teams a chance to win a piece of the staggering $2 million prize pool. And the way to get into the tournament? Well, it was through invitation. Based on Split 1 playoff performance, 32 of the 40 teams competing were simply just invited. However, this was not made known during the time of the tournament itself. This means that teams competing in Split 1 playoffs were completely unaware that not only were they competing for the prize money at the Los Angeles event, but also for a chance at an invite to a completely separate tournament and an even larger prize pool. After these 32 invitations, there remained 8 open positions for new teams to enter the tournament. And this is truly where we got a glimpse at just how grueling this tournament would become for these teams. The remaining 8 positions for the tournament were offered up in last chance qualifier tournaments and held across 5 regions. 2 positions would be offered up to Latin America, North America, and the Northern Asian Pacific, or APAC North, while Europe and APAC South would be vying for only 1 available spot in their respective regions. In order to qualify to even go to this tournament for these teams, they would need to compete against 160 other teams in a set of 4 games in order to place top 5 in that group.
Players go down to the ring. It's just Furia with 1 member left in the 1v3, and Keon burns down to the ring, leaving Stripods the champions.
Then the qualifying teams would compete against another set of 4 games and place top 10.
Oh, but Oblivion go down. Into the final 2 we go. Retsy versus Nox. Nox swings with the flat and unfortunately gets punished, but he's still able to clean things up thanks to the boat check, thanks to Reptar and Fun. A brilliant match number 3 to get things moving for Team Nocturnal.
Before finally competing in a final set of 6 games where only the top 1 or 2 teams will actually make it into the tournament and have a chance to compete in Riyadh.
Team Nocturnal in the top 2 just need to hold on.
Tripod's still alive, top 2 squad. This could be it. This could be Tripods winning the last game. Deans is in here, and Tripods takes the win, the first and the last in the journey to Riyadh.
The only advantage that these 8 teams took into the tournament after this grueling 3-day affair was a glimpse at just how hard this tournament would prove to be. For these 8 teams, the qualifier was already a demanding one, and once they got to Riyadh, the steam only picked up. To understand how difficult this tournament format is, we should first break down a traditional ALGS tournament. In traditional ALGS formats, the tournament has 3 stages: group stage, bracket stage, and the match point finals. In group stages, 4 groups of 10 teams play in 3 separate sets of 6 games, 1 against each of the other groups. These are used to earn points which ultimately determine their position in the bracket stages, with the top 20 being placed in Winners Bracket 1 and the bottom 20 being placed in Losers Bracket 1. This means that regardless of your performance in the first 18 games played in the tournament, every team would still be guaranteed to make it to the bracket stage. Once in the bracket stage, the bottom 10 of Losers Round 1 would be the first set of teams eliminated, while the top 10 of Losers Round 1 would continue on to fight the bottom 10 of Winners Round round 1. To determine the 10 additional teams that would be eliminated before the top 10 from that round head on to the match point finals, where at that point the victor is finally declared. In this format, teams are guaranteed to play at least 3 match days, 2 in the group stages and 1 in the bracket stage. This is where the first major differences in format emerges. The tournament in Riyadh was broken into 4 match days, 2 group stages, 1 last chance qualifier, and the last day being the finals. Unlike the traditional style of 4 groups of 10 teams, with each being weighted to balance out the groups based on their Pro League performance, this tournament chose to make groups of 20 teams, seeding them based on their Split 1 playoffs performance, which, with roster mania and 4 months separating the 2 events, was not nearly as reflective of the current position of these rosters. Since these were groups of 20 teams, the group stages consisted of just 1 set of games per group, with the groups playing amongst themselves to determine which teams moved on to the last chance or match point finals lobbies. This means that teams were guaranteed to sit out for at least 1 day of the tournament while the other group played their set, which also meant that they may not compete against the other half of the teams in the tournament until the actual match point finals on the 4th day, which for teams from Group A would be after 2 full days of not playing in the tournament. And this passivity was not the only thing rough about this 4-day structure. The group stages for 32 of these teams was the first taste of how difficult the rise to victory would be. Groups A and B during their match days would each play a set of 10 games, full 66% more and nearly an hour and a half more of in-game playtime than a traditional match day for these teams. This meant that endurance and consistency would reign supreme, as just winning 1 game of the set wouldn't be enough to guarantee yourself a spot in the finals. In addition to the length of the tournament, the maps were different too. In ALGS up until this point, only 2 maps were considered competitively viable, Stormpoint and World's Edge. In this set of 10, each of those 2 maps will be played 4 times, 2 of each in the beginning of the set and 2 of each at the end. Those 2 middle matches though, well, they would be fan-voted maps, picking from the remaining 3 maps in the rotation, Kings Canyon, Olympus, and Broken Moon. These maps being placed in the middle of the set were the wild card in each match day. Not only are these maps considered unfit for comp for a variety of reasons, these teams had limited time to practice on these maps, and the maps were not voted on until right before the match. Teams would not know which maps they would be playing on for that set until right before the match started. If the difficulty of these 10 matches was not enough, the stakes were even more brutal. During these group stages, for each of the 20 teams competing, after the set of 10 games, the top 9 teams would move on to the match point finals on day 4, with additional starting points based on placement, first place receiving 9 starting points and counting down from there. The 10th through 19th places on each group stage would then be placed in a last chance qualifier to fight for the remaining spots. And as for the last place team of each group, they would be eliminated after just the first set of games, a full 14 games and 2 days earlier than in a traditional ALGS tournament. The group stages concluded with overwhelming victories for Team Falcons in Group A and Alliance in Group B, and saw the teams of Reject Winity and Riddle Order going home in the first 2 days of the event. Moving into day 3 of the tournament, the format continued its path of destruction. If you noticed before, I mentioned that the top 9 teams from each group moved on to the match point finals. If you do the math there, you can quickly see the bleak path that awaited these teams in the last chance qualifier. These 20 teams would be playing in a set of 10 games, structured the same way as the group stages, but vying for just 2 spots in the grand finals the following day. And this set was brutal, with a very evenly matched lobby and a different team winning each of the first 8 matches. The leaderboard was constantly shifting before Guild Esports and Space Station Gaming win their second games in the final 2 matches to solidify their placement in the lobby and tickets to the match point finals. For the other 18 teams, their entire tournament had come to an end, and for Guild and SSG, exhausted after a 10-game set in a vicious and close lobby, they would start their final day still with less points than every other team in the match point finals. Now we've arrived at match point finals. And even with all the grueling paths the teams have taken to make it to this point, none could have been prepared for just how difficult this finals lobby would prove to be. With the creation of the super team of Zero, Jen Burton, and Imperial Hal, and their acquisition from the Riyadh-based org, the Falcons, many spectators and even many players anticipated that this match point finals would be over rather quickly, with the team being notoriously dominant under the match point format, dwarfing other teams in the group stage performances, and even closing out the Split 2 NA regional match point finals in only 5 games. Which was just a few weeks prior to this tournament. What many had not anticipated is just how much the competition had grown, and this would not be a one-team show anymore. In the traditional match point finals, the maps alternate between Stormpoint and World's Edge every 2 games. The goal is to accumulate points in each game until you've gained over 50 points, at which point the team needs to win any game after that one to close out the tournament and claim the $600,000 first place prize. In previous tournaments, this was accomplished in 7 to 9 games, with the shortest on record being 4 games from the Split 1 champions Reject Winity, but for this tournament, presumably accounting for the additional starting points granted to the teams from the group stage, and to make the tournament run a little bit longer, the point threshold for EWC was raised to 60 points. As the final day started, the map was to be swapped every match, unlike the normal format of every 2 matches, which meant that no teams were able to gain momentum on a single map. This led to a rather slow start, with teams like Aurora, Mizuchi, Gaming Gladiators, and Liquid all fighting toward the top to reach that match point threshold. This tone would soon shift as the usual pattern started to form again, as the Falcons took a commanding lead, being the first team to hit match point in Game 6, following a massive win in Barometer on Stormpoint.
Picking up these kills, Imperial Hell will get 1. He gets the shield swap as we're down to just 2. It's GG on the high ground. It's a 2v2 in the lobby. Spraying through the knockdown. That'll get rid of that. There's the knuckle cluster as well. They have to fall into the grasp of Falcons here. And if you know anything about Falcons, it's not just about achieving 1 goal. It's doing it by winning the lobby. They just need 1.
It's bit by bit. You've got to climb. You've got to try and find this bit of damage to work with here.
They're going to have to drop here. Imperial Howl will wait. And when the drop comes in, Falcons will stand tall.
At this point, match point was hit, and many expected them to close it out within only a few matches, and boy, were they wrong. In Game 7, Falcons claimed the best spot in zone, but shortly after died to a third party by Luminosity.
Trying to finish me here. Okay, shoot him. I smoke it too. It's a duo, He's trying to finish, so 40-40. Get around. Amazing. I have gold knock. Take me. It's okay. You're pushing me. No, I'm dead, bro. Just push me. Nice. Give me a knock. No. Oh, what the fuck? He was ratting me in the corner.
And Aurora goes on to win the game, bringing Mizuchi and Team Liquid Alienware with them on to match point. In Game 8, the zone pulls to a place many on match point have seen time and time again. Barometer, the same POI that Falcons won from just 2 games prior, and a place that Zero is notorious for from winning on match point. Winning North American Regional Finals from there just a few weeks prior, and winning multiple lands from that POI before that. This time, the trend looks no different. Once again, they secure one of the best spots in zone, but they aren't the only ones. Across the POI, Liquid lands here, and they chose to sit on top of Barometer Tower with a great spot if the zone pulls in that direction. Meanwhile, Mizuchi and Aurora are also in neighboring POIs with high priority. Despite this, Mizuchi dies trying to rotate into the POI, and Aurora and Liquid die trying to get into late end zones as the ring pulls to the opposite side of the POI, leaving Falcons once again in the end zone with only 5 teams remaining. Despite this, they fail once again to close it out, losing a fight with Alliance due to a few missed Kraber shots, and Gaming Gladiators takes the win, bringing one more team to match point, with a few more teams on the brink of hitting that 60-point threshold. In Game 9, Falcons yet again find themselves in the top 5 in a game-winning position and fail to close it out as they get pressured by multiple teams in end zone, and DMS ultimately takes the match, bringing themselves and 4 additional teams to match point: Alliance, Guild, FaZe, and Elevate Bleed. By Game 10, there are now 10 teams on match point, meaning that going into this match, there's a 50% chance the game will end, as just one of those 10 teams need to win the game to claim the first place prize and end the tournament. And to many surprise, once again, it's a Barometer zone, and Falcons, Liquid, Mizuchi, Guild, FaZe, Aurora, and DMS have all found their way into good spots in the end zone. As the final 10 teams emerge, the frontrunners Falcons, along with Guild, FaZe, E8, and Alliance, have all died off. But there are still 5 teams on match point left. As the end zone closes, however, Aurora dies on zone close, and Liquid, Gaming Gladiators, and Mizuchi are all forced into each other as the zone pulls away from the tower, leaving only DMS as a solo as Exo Clan defeats Luminosity to take the victory and push the game into another match. Game 11 starts, and we have 11 teams on match point. We are 5.5 hours into this tournament, and certainly someone is going to win this match and close it out. The zone pulls to Lava Siphon, and Gaming Gladiators, Mizuchi, Liquid, ExoClan, and Guild all have priority, with Mizuchi and Liquid dying to a fight with each other, and others dying on the rotate. With 9 squads remaining, 6 of the teams are on match point and could close the game out. And Aurora on triple red, is clearing out the lobby. In the final 4, Aurora wipes out 2 members of Guild and eliminates E8 Bleed as they push for the third party. Luminosity, however, doesn't push this fight, and Aurora gets the full reset, leaving Aurora and Luminosity on full health and the solo from Guild on the low ground. And on triple red, Aurora have the armor advantage on top of the only rivaling team remaining. Certainly the game will end here, but then they drop.
Dancing around, LG looking at them, Legacy still on the low ground, but Aurora dropped down? Aurora dropped down? They give up the high ground? Are you kidding me?
They give it to LG!
Free for LG! We are going to another game of Apex. I cannot believe this, ladies and gentlemen. LG get to walk in for free, and we get to see another game of Apex Legends!
And just like that, we are on to game 12. And Luminosity has jumped to 6th place and put 12 teams on match point. Unlike the last 3 Stormpoint matches, the zone pulls away from Barometer and goes instead to Northpad. Another favorable zone for Falcons, but also advantageous for teams like Luminosity, who just reached match point, and Alliance, who lands in the POI. Now, this zone is a tricky one, despite the fact that most of the ring looks to be in checkpoint. Due to invalid zone rules, which you can learn about in my video above, this zone will always pull to Northpad. And because of the limited space in the end zone and the difficulty rotating in late because of the high cliffs of checkpoint, often the few teams that get there first will end up winning the game, and Alliance and Falcons do exactly that. Both of these teams hold strong positions for most of the game, and as 8 squads remain, 6 of the teams are on match point. And one of the 2 teams that isn't, Twisted Minds, well, they're a solo. Certainly they won't be able to do anything, right? As 4 squads remain, solos from Falcons and Luminosity fight in the trenches as Alliance sits in God spot, with the only other squad being that solo from Twisted Minds.
Here, keep the cool funk in a 1v1. This can matter everything here. Twisted Mind has just responded 2 players. Twisted Mind, the only non-match point team, has responded as Jen tries to clutch this.
This 1v1 goes on for so long!
Did he get it? Did he get it? Oh my... Gee.
Push in with game 13 on their backs.
No way! No way! Twisted Minds!
Surely
Twisted Minds! Alliance are eliminated. LG as a duo. Twisted Minds with the clutchest red in Apex Legends history.
A 2v3 with full red armors. I don't see how Twisted Minds can lose this.
This has been the best Apex Legends we have ever seen. Twisted Minds with the EVA 8, with the fresh res. We may be going on to a game 3. I believe in LG on this funky clutch.
Sweet falls down by himself now. Fuck. With a sliver of high ground, we'll try and make this happen. And Twisted Minds.
And just like that, the already hardest tournament format in Apex Legends history has broke records, being the longest match point finals at a LAN in history, with Twisted Minds being the 13th team to hit match point and going into match 13. Now it's match 13, and the Falcons are in first place with a 17-point lead on DMS. But it is still anyone's game, as all that is needed to take first is any one of these 13 teams to win the next game and get the trophy and the $600,000 first place prize. So as we go into World's Edge for potentially the last time in this tournament, Zone pulls to Tree. With this zone, 6 of the teams with the highest priority and chance to win out of this location are on match point: Guild, Liquid, Mizuchi, Gaming Gladiators, ExoClan, and Alliance. In 18th place, FaZe dies in a fight with E8 Bleed. In 16th place, the frontrunners in first place Team Falcons died to Gaming Gladiators as they skydive into zone. Mizuchi dies next in a fight with LGD before Aurora goes down to Gaming Gladiators. ExoClan is the next to fall in 11th place as they are bombarded by the entire lobby. Guild goes down, then DMS, then Twisted Minds, then Elevate, and with Blacklist being the last team not on match point, the 20th place team sends a fight into Gaming Gladiators. They win the fight, and with 4 teams alive and Blacklist on triple red and near a full reset, there's a chance to keep this alive. But then, Alliance swings in.
They wrap in behind. The spray coming in from Effect is devastating as he takes down 2 members.
That's 2 members of Blacklist as Alliance look to close this thing out.
With Blacklist as a solo and no chance for a reset, this tournament is ending here, and Alliance has taken the best chance to do it. Alliance with a Skynet eliminates the solo from Blacklist as Liquid and Luminosity fall to solos fighting for the building, and Alliance, a team that has always dominated in the group stages but struggled to put it together in a finals lobby, finally eliminates Luminosity and Liquid to take the victory in the hardest tournament in Apex Legends history.
The doubters, the haters are silenced! As Alliance will finally cross that line, will step over from finalists to champions, and will also become the first from EMEA to claim a LAN.
It's been Burke. Thanks for watching.